What's going on? Nick Lott Show, Spreaker Web Radio. Thank you for tuning in. We got a lot on tap this week. Number one, Alabama Crimson Tide rolls into College Station this week. Biggest game of A&M's history, I think. There is so much riding on this game again. We all know what happened last year. A&M goes into Tuscaloosa and beats Alabama 29-24. Alabama's had all off-season to think about this. Of course, Alabama later goes on to the SEC championship and winning the national championship, just absolutely demolishing Notre Dame and that good defense that they had. And there was a lot of talk. Alabama is coming off of a bye week, and there was a lot of talk of the lack of production of Alabama's offense. And the thing that I see when I look into this is Alabama is a good offensive team. Granted, they had a lot of help from the return game and special teams against Virginia Tech, and that's really what propelled them to a win. But I just think A.J. McCarron, I've gained so much respect for the guy just based on I used to think he wasn't a good quarterback, and here he's won 2 straight national championships. And I've gotten into conversations with people, and they said, well, that's not all A.J. McCarron. That's partially, if not mostly, due to their running attack. I mean, look at the running backs they've had over the past few years. Mark Ingram, Eddie Lacy, T.J. Yeldon, who's only a sophomore this year. I mean, the offense, I don't think will be a problem this week for Alabama. But what's going to be hard is obviously stopping Johnny Manziel, because you saw what A&M did in the first quarter last year, just absolutely came out firing, and Johnny Manziel just had a field day with them in the first half. And the thing I don't get about this game is, yes, A&M won it last year. It was a huge win for them. It was like they're coming into the SEC, and nobody expected A&M to have the year that they had last year. But people around College Station, and I mean, I get it to a point, but they want to Aggies kind of want to appoint Alabama their rivals, which, I mean, I don't really understand. You beat a team by 5 points, and granted, it's the biggest win in your history. You just knocked off the number one team in the nation on the road, which nobody thought you could do, and that's really what solidified Johnny Manziel's Heisman run. So, but Aggies kind of make this like a rivalry game, and that's the thing I don't get. You come into a conference, and yes, you beat this team one time, and then all of a sudden, this team becomes one of your biggest rivals when you've been playing LSU for years and years, and I think LSU A&M's more of a rival than A&M Alabama, because I mean, I think LSU Alabama is more of a rivalry than A&M Alabama. I mean, they actually at least have some history against each other. I mean, the last time these two teams, A&M and Alabama, played each other in College Station was 25 years ago, when A&M was in the Southwest Conference. So, with that being said, Alabama is a 7.5-point favorite on the road. And I think Alabama's defense is great. I think A.J. McCarron's a great quarterback. I think he's going to throw the ball a lot to Amari Cooper, and depending on what this offensive line does against that A&M front seven, I think T.J. Yeldon could have a field day. And I think Alabama could potentially, no pun intended, roll over Texas A&M in this game. Because defensively, A&M has not had their 6 best players on defense, and so their first game is against Alabama. And like I said earlier, this segment, Alabama has been preparing for this game for the entire offseason. Like, this is what they're looking forward to. It's their second game of the year. Last year, these two teams played each other late, and that's the point of the year where everything's clicking, everything's all together. But the fact that this matchup just comes so quickly out of the gate, I mean, Alabama's only had one game to prepare for this. Texas A&M's had two, and I think Johnny Manziel has played well in both games, seeing limited action between against Rice, playing only in the second half and then only needing to play 3 quarters against Sam Houston State. Johnny Manziel is a great quarterback. You got to give him that. Personally, I don't like him as a person, and it has nothing to do with what he's done off the field with the Manning camp or going on crazy spring break trips to Mexico or anything like that. I mean, but I think he kind of uses this whole. I mean, how many times in SEC Media Day did he say, I'm 20, like I'm just living my life like any normal 20-year-old would do? And to me, that's not a good excuse to have for Johnny, just because, I mean, yeah, he is 20, he's a young college kid, he's going to enjoy his time in college while he can, but it kind of gets old hearing the same thing over and over again. It's like, Johnny, why'd you do this? Oh, I don't know. I'm 20. I'm a college kid. I'm gonna live my life. I mean, you can only hear that so much before you just think, oh, this guy's kind of like, yeah, he's a great player on the field, but off the field, I mean, with what he's gotten into in social media and all that, I mean, I just think he's representing A&M the wrong way, because A&M has always been about tradition and excellence and honor, and I just think Johnny Manziel disgraces that. And you see it going on nationally in the media. I mean, all these people are hating on him, saying, oh, he took money for autographs. I mean, I'm not – the NCAA has done their investigation on that. It's over with. It's done. They suspended him for a half. That's the punishment they deemed was fair. And so that's what they carried out, and that's all that Johnny's going to have to worry about, the whole autograph thing. And it's not because of that. That's not why I don't like him. I don't like him. It's not that I don't like him because he won the Heisman. I just think he could represent the school a lot better, and he could represent himself a lot better. And this whole A&M Alabama rivalry, I mean, I just don't really get it. It doesn't make too much sense to me. I mean, they played one time, and last year was the first time I'd seen them play, and since I can remember, since I started seriously following college football. We'll let Saturday do the talking. College Game Day is going to be here. CBS kicks off their SEC opener here. 2:30 CBS. All eyes are going to be on Kyle Field on Saturday. You can take that to the bank. Speaking of taking something, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Thank you for tuning in. Nick Lott Show, Spreaker Web Radio.
His charm is so contagious, vaccines have been created for it. Years ago, he built a city out of blocks. Today, over 600,000 people live and work there. He is the only man to ever ace a Rorschach test. Every time he goes for a swim, dolphins appear. Alien abductors have asked him to probe them. If he were to give you directions, you'd never get lost, and you'd arrive at least 5 minutes early. His legend precedes him, the way lightning precedes thunder. He is the most interesting man in the world.
Mayhem is everywhere.
I'm your 10-year-old neighbor. You told me I could come over and shoot baskets anytime I want. So here I am, working my prepubescent muscles. Last time I was here, I learned a little trick. At the angle on the hood of your car, bounces the ball back to me in perfect rhythm. Thanks for parking under the hoop again. You're the best neighbor ever. But if you have cut rate insurance, you might not be covered for this. Or this. So get Allstate, where agents keep you protected from mayhem like me. And he shoots from downtown!
Get Get the coverage you need and the discounts you deserve from an Allstate agent. Dollar for dollar, nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate.
Call your local agent, 1-888-ALLSTATE, or go to allstate.com. Savings and protection based on coverage selected and are subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Actual savings will vary. Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois.
What's going on, guys? Nick Lott Show back on Spreaker Web Radio. Thanks for hanging in over that short break. We're going to talk a little Texas Tech TCU on this segment. From what I've seen in Baker Mayfield over these first two games, granted this last game was against SFA. They were up 45-7 with like 2 minutes left in the second quarter. I'm a little concerned this week. This is going to be the best defense that Baker's seen so far this season. Defensively, TCU is very good. You saw what they did against LSU in that opener. And some big news for TCU. Casey Paul Hall broke his non-throwing arm, so he's going to be out for, I think, 8 weeks is what I read. And that would mean that Trevon Boykin is going to be the starter for mostly the remainder of the season. But defensively, Texas Tech, they've improved a lot over the past couple of years in tackling and coverages. And because for a while there, that 5-7 season, their defense was just absolutely horrible. I'm sorry, but they've really energized this young team. This young coaching staff has revolutionized this team, and they're starting to play for a purpose. They're hungry for that conference championship. I still think that's a year or two away. It's going to be interesting to see what Cliff Kingsbury can do this opening year at Tech. I mean, he's already 2-0. Like I said before, the alumni is behind him. Finally, a guy that people can get behind, because I know Texas Tech would call my house when Tuberville was coaching. The Alumni Association would ask my dad to donate money, and he said, well, is Tuberville still the coach of the Tech football team? And they'd say yes, and my dad would say, well, I'm not donating. Now that Cliff Kingsbury's back, I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm pretty sure my dad's donating money once again. And, I mean, Tech, offensively, they've always been air it out. And I expected that under Cliff Kingsbury, with a little bit of the running game coming out of the backfield, and you see that with Kenny Williams and DeAndre Washington. And I mean, they're still running those screen plays and slants. I mean, quick passes are what this offense is all about. Yards after catch, breaking loose, getting elusive into the secondary, and I think that's going to be a tall task, because this secondary of TCU is just, they're absolutely phenomenal. You saw the plays they made on the balls that Zach Mettenberger was throwing to Odell Beckham, and this secondary is gonna, I think it's gonna cause Baker Mayfield some problems, especially being a true freshman walk-on. This is gonna be, every game he plays this year, I feel like it's gonna build up to be the biggest game of his life, especially when they. I think it's what's really going to be interesting to see is once Michael Brewer is healthy again, how they're going to bring him into the system, or if they have full faith in Baker. I'm pretty sure Davis Webb got some playing time last week. I didn't see the game on TV. I just saw the final score. I think 62-13, something along those lines. But I mean, again, it was Stephen F. Austin. Not much competition. Definitely a better defense coming in to try to stop that Tech offense this week. Tech is a 4-point underdog at home. This home field advantage is definitely going to energize that defense a little bit. Like I said, their Tech's defense has definitely improved over the past couple of years. Again, another defensive coordinator in there. New one. So they've had, I think, 4 different defensive coordinators in the last 4 years or something crazy like that. But Eric Ward, unfortunately,